Ghost of Tsushima, developed by Sucker Punch, is an open-world game with a linear story and side missions and a progression system. So it's nothing new. We've seen a lot of games that fit that genre perfectly, games like Red Dead Redemption, Marvel's Spider-Man, etc. So why should you play this game? What does this game have to offer that sets it apart from those other games? To answer that question, we need to look a little deeper into this game. We need to dissect it to see why it has managed to capture everyone's attention and become a very successful title. Now, the short answer as to why it's so successful is because it's a great game. It does a lot of things right. As a matter of fact, when I was playing it, I had a hard time trying to find something that I didn't like. And that's the sign of a truly amazing game. So let's get into some details. And the first thing we're going to talk about is possibly the most important aspect of an open world game. And that is the open world. The game demands a great deal of exploration, and it provides you with amazing visuals to keep you company. In my opinion, the graphics are far more important in an open world game than in any other genre of video games, and that's because you spend a lot of time just exploring the world and looking at everything, and if what you're looking at doesn't look great, it's not going to make for a great experience. The map is packed with content. There's always something for you to do, and accomplishing tasks wouldn't be satisfying if it wasn't directly tied to a great progression system. The progression system in this game is very well designed. You do different tasks, the game gives you technique points, and you use them to unlock different moves and different techniques to broaden your combat moves. You can also unlock charms, which are basically perks that give you certain advantages inside or sometimes outside of combat. You can unlock different outfits that come with perks themselves. You can also collect supplies and different items to upgrade basically everything you have. Every piece of equipment that you have, every outfit, everything can be upgraded. And the best part about the upgrades is that you can really feel them. Like when you upgrade your sword, you can tell it's gotten much stronger and it's very satisfying, which makes grinding for those upgrades totally worth it. When it comes to a progression system done right, this game is the quintessential of that. Unlocking things can sometimes be hard work, but it feels really good to level up and earn different things in the game. Another thing this game does well is the flow, which relies heavily on the progression system, and by that I mean the amount of things that you can unlock in this game by first glance can be overwhelming, but the game does a great job of steadily feeding you information so you won't get overwhelmed. It teaches you everything little by little. You learn everything step by step, and this game could have been a disaster if it didn't get the flow right. The combat system is complicated, but it never seems that way because in the beginning, it starts off very simple. You can only do a few moves, and the game waits for you to practice and master whatever it just taught you. And right as you're about to feel like you got it, it teaches you one more thing. And when you master that, it teaches you another thing. And it does that every time at the right time. So by the end, when you finally learned everything and unlocked everything, it doesn't feel like the game was holding back for too long. It doesn't feel like some of the stuff that you unlocked, you should have unlocked a long time ago. Which brings me to my next point. A lot of people are comparing this game to Red Dead Redemption, and I really don't understand why. Maybe it's because they're both open world games with horses as a form of transportation, but I think a more valid comparison would be Marvel's Spider-Man. And maybe looking at them from a surface level, it doesn't feel like it, but they're very similar. Their progression system and combat system are extremely similar. In Ghost of Tsushima, you have a lot of weapons in your arsenal, same as in Marvel's Spider-Man. You have a token-based progression system where you unlock different abilities using tokens that you can earn by doing main or side missions, same as in Spider-Man. You have a fast-paced combat system, same as in Spider-Man. The stealth missions, the flow of the gameplay, there are a lot of parallels between the two. And earlier in the video I presented a question of why you should play this game instead of a game like Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man is a fantastic game, but the few areas where it's mediocre, Ghost of Tsushima is almost perfect. And one of those things is the flow. In Spider-Man, it felt like you couldn't have everything in the game until you were almost done with the whole game. And that's a little problem, but it's a problem that Ghost of Tsushima just doesn't have. Another thing it does better than Spider-Man is the combat system. It's more complicated, it's a little bit more challenging. The combat in Spider-Man sometimes felt like it was too easy. Also, some of the gadgets and suit powers and abilities just seemed useless compared to all the other ones. But in Ghost of Tsushima, everything you have is pretty useful. Maybe there is one thing, like the wind chimes don't feel as useful as everything else, but even they have their uses every now and then. Now let's talk about the combat system. The combat system is the best thing about this game. It's the selling point, it's the highlight of this game. And the reason why the combat system is so good is because it's complex, has a lot of depth and dimensions, yet is presented in such a simple way that not only makes fighting more enjoyable, but it makes learning about fighting fun too. There are basically 4 different enemy types. There are soldiers with swords, shields, spears, and there are also these brutes. And for each enemy type there's a stance. Stone stance for swords, water stands for shields, wind stands for spears, and moon stands for brutes. In order to deal with enemies in the most efficient way, you have to fight each enemy type using their corresponding stance. You can also upgrade each stance and unlock different moves in each stance, and when you first start the game, you only have the stone stance. You have to unlock the other 3 as you move forward in the story. So the game gives you enough time to master a stance before you unlock the next one. The combat is very fast-paced. At times you're gonna feel overwhelmed by the amount of enemies surrounding you, and it's gonna be really hard to focus on one enemy. Because multiple soldiers can come at you at the same time, you're gonna need to master the parry and the dodge move. And if that was the entire combat system, it would get really boring really fast. Because the combat is so fast-paced and you can get overwhelmed real quick, the game also gives you ghost weapons, which are basically the equivalent of tactical equipments in a Call of Duty game. For example, if you're surrounded by 5 enemies, you can temporarily incapacitate 3 of them with your kunai, which are throwing knives, and then proceed to deal with the other 2. They're kind of used as a means to crowd control and thin out the herd so everything else becomes much more manageable. There are also ranged weapons like bows and poison darts, and each of them have multiple ammo types that serve their own purpose. There have been a lot of games where the combat itself is good, but switching between different guns and ammo types is practically a nightmare. And this is where this game really shines. You have so many things to keep track of: which stance you're in, what enemy type you're fighting, which ghost weapons you have, which ranged weapons you have, and what ammo type you have. And the button placement is so masterfully designed that you get to enjoy a combat system with a lot of depth and not feel overwhelmed or confused by the amount of options you have during combat. You can hold R2 and that will pull up the HUD, then you can use your right side of the controller to switch between different stances, or you can use the left side of the controller, the D-pad, to switch between different ghost weapons. You can hold L2, use the left side of the controller to switch between different ranged weapons, and you can use the right side of the controller to switch between different ammo types. The button assignment is so smart that it makes switching between different things in the middle of combat so simple and so easy. So you don't feel like you have to pick one weapon and one stance and just stick with it. You feel encouraged to try out and take advantage of every little thing this game puts at your disposal. I cannot stress this enough. The combat system in this game is phenomenal. Another thing we gotta talk about is the HUD. The HUD is one of those things that you only talk about if it's really bad. If you just play the game and not notice anything about the HUD, that means it's done right. It's only when the HUD is poorly designed that you talk about it. But this game is an exception to the rule. I feel like the HUD in this game is so beautifully designed that it deserves acknowledgement and recognition. The HUD is just wonderful. It's not too big that it's distracting, and it's not too small that you have to constantly squint to see what's happening. It's simple, the logos for the different stances are easy to see, and overall everything makes sense about the way it's done. The HUD is just another thing that developers did really well to help simplify the combat system. Now let's talk about the story. This section is going to be brief because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't played this game yet. The story is good. It's not incredible, the characters are okay, some of them can be kind of boring and uninteresting. The main character can at times be very one-dimensional. The story at times really struggles with a lack of balance between the seriousness and the levity. It takes itself way too seriously for way too long, and there is no humor to balance it out. And I understand it would be very difficult to implement humor in the story because the setting and the theme of the story leaves very little room for that. In a story where the main theme is survival versus honor, where you play as a samurai warrior trying to liberate your home from the Mongolian invasion, there is very little room left for characters to laugh and make dick jokes and have fun. So I get it, but still, the story suffers a little bit because of that. Other than that, this story is good. It presents a conflict between fighting to preserve a sense of honor or fighting to save people's lives, and it's a conflict that was very relevant at the time, and the game does a really good job of presenting that narrative. Now that we're done talking about the story, I wanted to talk more about the comparisons between this game and Red Dead Redemption 2, and I just wanted to present my own take on it. Some people are saying that this game is better than Red Dead Redemption 2, and it's really not. There are things it does better than Red Dead Redemption 2, but overall, if we're comparing two open world games, Red Dead Redemption 2 just has a level of depth that is quite unmatched by anything else in the genre. With Ghost of Tsushima, you do explore the world, and it's fun to do so, but after a while, everything just starts repeating itself. By the third or fourth day of playing this game, I knew every single thing that I was gonna encounter when I was roaming the open world, because there are only a handful of different things that can happen to you when you're exploring, and everything that you come across is just gonna be a combination of those things. With Red Dead Redemption 2, it felt like the world was just infinite, like you could scour every inch of the map and still be able to come across something that you had never seen before. Like, the possibilities were endless. Now, what this game lacks in exploration, it makes up for in combat and other gameplay aspects. And that's why this game is worth playing. It's definitely worth the full price. It provides an amazing experience, great visuals, decent story, and a top-notch combat system. And it's great to have games like these before moving on to the next generation of consoles. It's good to end on that high note. And with that being said, that concludes our video for the day. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.